called the liberal arts faculty. It's a little bit different from what we know as liberal arts today. It was made up of 7 different subjects. These were called the trivium, or the 3 ways, the 3 subjects, and the quadrivium, or the 4 subjects. The first 3 trained Bonaventure in his ability to think, to reason, to develop an argument in the sense of develop a topic and be able to explain it. The other 4 filled him with content, a kind of scientific background. So he would apply the knowledge of his reasoning skills, his philosophical skills, really, to the subjects that he studied later in the sciences. This is how the curriculum broke down. The very first subject was grammar, or grammatica. This is a little bit different from what we know as grammar today. It's not just verbs and nouns. It was rather the study of language itself. How is language structured? How does a subject relate to an object? How do you use a preposition? Why does an adverb help us to explain something? It's a real study of language and the rules of language, because the rules of language somehow are the rules of human thought. This study of grammar, then, and its Latin grammar, is the most basic building block for Bonaventure's education. After the study of grammar, the student moved on to logic, sometimes called dialectic. This is where you learn the rules of reasoning. Why is it that something cannot be both an elephant and not an elephant at the same time? That's called the principle of non-contradiction. Things have to be a certain way. There's a logic to the way that people develop their thought. This study of the rules of logic helps Bonaventure later when he's trying to construct his own philosophical and theological system. A third topic that was studied in this trivium, or the 3 ways, was what was called rhetoric. We think of rhetoric today and maybe we think of politicians, or we think of a speech that someone gave and they said, that was rhetoric. It implies that it wasn't true or maybe wasn't sincere. Rhetoric, however, actually means the way that one can present a case in order to convince someone that this is something that they want to do or ought to do. Rhetoric is the process of learning how to interact with an audience, whether as listeners or readers of something that you produce. After this study, which took several years, Bonaventure would move into the quadrivium, the 4, we would say, scientific areas of study. They were arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Now you might say, that is a funny kind of college curriculum. What's his major? Well, there's a reason behind this. If you look at each one of these, they have to do with measurement and proportion. The study of arithmetic, which will be very important in Bonaventure's writing, is about number, and the way, we would say, a kind of study of mathematics in an abstract mode. Number as a building block of reality, that once you understand number, you have a kind of key to the way things work. So it's more than being able to add up 2 plus 2. This is really a study of what numbers mean. If you've ever talked to someone who's really dedicated to mathematics and they talk about the beauty of a mathematical proof, that's the kind of number theory that Bonaventure would be studying. The meaning of numbers and also the symbolism of numbers. This will be very important to him in his writing on the soul's journey. Besides arithmetic or number, they also studied geometry. Here, what they're trying to understand is the relationship of number to space. That is the sides of a triangle, or how to bisect an angle. Much of the learning that they received from the Greeks and more recently from Arab cultures was used to help them understand the way that the universe is put together structurally. This study of geometry, of shapes, based on the old textbooks of Euclid, helped people to look at their world as one full of meaning. You could discern a shape within things in the natural world, and you could abstract from things a kind of form, an outline, a mental picture of that thing
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.